we would have disagreements and I would leave, and then other men would also come over to my apartment while I was at work, or where I would just leave for a couple of days to cool off or whatever. So that's why I would like paternity tests for Javion also.
Who does Javion call his father?
I haven't spoke with them in years, sir. You'd have to ask her. I don't know. I don't get to talk to them or see them or anything.
I'm trying to understand why it took you almost 13 years to ask for DNA.
Your Honor, the state approaches on a petition to establish the parent-child relationship and a suit affecting the parent-child relationship. The state would like the court to take judicial notice that Mr. Henderson is present today, and he agreed to waive his right for in-person service, and a copy of the state's petition was emailed to him this morning.
All right, so noted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, the parties are in agreement for a DNA test, but the state would like to state that there is an acknowledgement of paternity signed for one of the children, Travion, where Mr. Henderson acknowledges paternity of Travion. There are 4 children on this matter, but the parties were in agreement to have DNA testing for all the children.
Are the other 3 just regular paternity cases?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. I don't have a problem with DNA on the other 3. Those are fine. No one signed acknowledged paternity, but I need to know why we're doing DNA for Travion. So, Ms. Gaffney, when was Travion born?
Travion was born September 24th, 2013.
Okay, so he's like 12 years old almost.
Yeah, almost.
Okay. All right, Mr. Henderson. So I don't like doing DNA for 12-year-olds. We usually like to do DNA for like 1 or 2 or 3-year-olds. Obviously, like I said, I'm going to give you DNA testing for the other 3 because you did not sign a paper, but you signed a paper for Travion probably in 2013 saying you were the father and that you waived your right to do DNA testing. So I need to know a really good reason why we want to do DNA testing for Travion.
Judge, it's Javion. Javion is the one that I signed his birth certificate. It's Javion.
Maybe I mispronounced it, but you know who I'm talking about.
Okay, I would like paternity test for him because, like I said, I was in and out. You know, our relationship was on and off. I would travel to Dallas for uh, periods of time. Um, also, we would have disagreements and I would leave, and then other men would also come over to my apartment while I was at work, or where I would just leave for a couple of days to cool off or whatever. So that's why I would like paternity test for Javion also.
Who does Javion call his father?
I haven't spoke with them in years, sir. You'd have to ask her. I don't know. I don't get to talk to them or see them or anything.
I'm assuming these other 3 kids are younger than Javion, right? So you did have some relationship with Javion for some time, even if it's been a while recently. Did he not call you dad?
Yes, sir. He did.
Okay, so if you saw him today, he would probably still call you dad, wouldn't he?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm trying to understand why it took you almost 13 years to ask for DNA.
Like I said, I haven't had a physical body to do a DNA test on. I haven't had any interaction with years. It's been years.
And you can't
So
call Ms.
that,
Gaffney and say, hey, I want to do DNA tests?
no, sir. We have no communication. She doesn't call me. She has my number, but she doesn't call me and say anything. And I do not have her number.
Okay, but you have 3 other kids with her, right?
Yes, sir.
And all that time that you were having, I mean, to be able to put it bluntly, y'all were having a sexual relationship with having 3 other kids. You never thought to ask at that time you want to do DNA for Javion?
I did, but like I said, we was in a relationship at the time. I did, have questions about it.
I didn't ask if you had questions. I asked you, why did you go do DNA on your own?
Like I said, well, when we were together, I mean, of course, not when we was together, but she knew I had doubts, but like we were together. I guess the answer is we were together.
Okay, so
I
now I'm
guess that
getting a second kind of story. So the first story was you never had access to Javion, so you couldn't get DNA tests. Now you're telling me y'all were when y'all were happy and friendly and in a great relationship, you didn't need DNA. Now all of a sudden you don't want it. Now you want, I mean, now you want DNA. That's your second story now. So, I mean, I got to understand. I mean, when I make a decision, I'm making decisions for what I think has been the best interest of a child. Telling a 12-year-old that their person that uh, they call dad wants DNA tests is not going to be a positive result. So that's why I say I prefer people to do DNA tests when the child is young, and you've had almost 13 years to do it. So that's what I'm trying to wrap my head around is why I need to tell a 13-year-old we need to do DNA tests.
But I mean, because at this point that we're at, I'm going to be paying for the next 18 years out of my pocket, or I'm not. So that's like a very important thing that needs to be acknowledged. Paternity, I feel like needs to be acknowledged because this something's going to affect me for the next 18 years, and more than that if he decides to go to college. So I feel like that's something that needs to be acknowledged and um, that needs to be acknowledged. That needs to be found out. That needs to be gotten to the bottom of it, and not just jump to. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but
No,
you
that's
know,
really
not,
the worst reason I like to hear, to be honest with you. I get a lot of people that all of a sudden want to do DNA testing when all of a sudden they got to pay child support. To me, that's the poorest reason of them all. I mean, you're not listening. The thing is, the children need to know immediately so that they can have a relationship with whoever the father is. They don't need to wait 13 years and then have to go find somebody. You've
okay.
stepped
Why
in,
did
either
the
one way or the other, you stepped in and said, I'm dad. And he knows you're the dad, even though you maybe not had visitation for whatever reason in the last few years. It's not like he's the only child on our case. Okay. So if he was the only child in your case, I would say maybe you're right. Maybe you haven't had access to the child. Maybe you didn't know where Miss Gaffney left to. But you've had three other children with her. So that really tells me that you've had access, you've ignored it, you decided not to do anything about it, and now all of a sudden, because you got to pay some money, all of a sudden now you want to do DNA. That's
I
like
mean,
that's the poorest reason to do
do I
DNA.
have the right to
So
do I have the right to acknowledge paternity, or I don't?
you had the right not to sign the paper 13 years ago. And if you had not signed the paper, we wouldn't be having this argument at all. Just like your other three kids, you did not sign the paper. No questions asked. I'm going to give you DNA for those three, no matter what age they are. But when you sign a paper that's called acknowledged paternity, it says, I'm the dad. I want to be the dad. I don't want to do DNA. I don't want to do anything else. I'm going to be legally responsible for this child, period. Doesn't say anything else. Doesn't say, I'm the dad until somebody puts me on child support. It doesn't say I'm the dad until something else happens or somebody says something. It says I'm the dad.
Okay,
That's
well,
that's the difference.
can
That's
you
the
help me
difference.
get
Okay, stop,
visitation
sir.
for him?
Stop. I'm not granting you testing for Javion. I grant you DNA test for the other three. That's fine. As I said, I don't have a problem with that. But you had 13 years to do your own DNA. Doesn't
Okay, well, can
cost a
you
lot
grant
to do
me
your own. If you're not going to be paying for Javion for the next 18 years. He's already 13. You only have like
can
5 years left.
can you grant
So
me visitation,
excuse me, sir.
sir?
I'm talking. I'm talking. So we're gonna do a DNA test, and then we'll come back to court and discuss everything else. And you're probably gonna be put on child support for Javion at least. But we'll talk about that when we come back. Ms. TV, what's your reset date?
Thank you, Your Honor. The state's asking to reset for July 24, 2025 at 9 o'clock.
All right. So we're gonna do a DNA testing order for the three kids. We're resetting the case of July 24, 2025. You'll both need to return to court on Zoom on that date. The Attorney General's office will be sending you out information about where to go do your DNA test for the three kids. Obviously, Ms. Gaffney, you got to bring the three kids, and they may not be at the same time or place. You should get that in the next day or two. Do not take the child Javion for the testing, of course. And then if you don't hear anything at all, 2 weeks after today about DNA testing, like when you're supposed to be scheduled, then give the Attorney General's office a call. But otherwise, go do your testing and be ready to proceed when you come to court on July 24th. Y'all are done with court today. You can press leave on the Zoom to exit out. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.